Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and I hope that you all must be doing great. So आज की analysis video start करते हैं for 23rd of September. So the first topic is that sports minister will skip the Asiad inaugural as China bars the entry of Arunachal players. So when we overall talk about this broader concept of sports, so what are the issues that are there? So firstly, when we say ki the manner of selection of the players that needs to be done in a transparent and accountable manner. This is because of late we saw the Indian wrestlers were at protest and the reason was sexual harassment and also how the players they were being selected. So we need to avoid political interference in this. Second issue is regarding doping. And thirdly, here in the context of again India and China, the Ministry of External Affairs that has rejected this differential treatment of the citizens based on their domicile or the ethnicity, because China feels that there is a territorial issue between India and China regarding Arunachal Pradesh. So this is the thing regarding the sports sector in India. And apart from this, Asiad Games, they are going to be happen in Hong Kong. So they'll be held in Hong Kong. So that's there. And apart from this, Union Minister, he'll be skipping this meeting. Because these are the three players, they've been denied the entry by the authorities. So these are all. Then Delhi High Court has to say that it is not a crime if the consenting married adults, they are in a live-in relationship. So basically, they, again, above the age of 18 years, they're adults and they're married. So that is not a crime. This has been clearly upheld by the Delhi High Court. So recently it held that live-in relationship between the two consenting adults married to different partners, they may be considered undesirable by a section of society, but it is not a criminal offense. So ये कोई ऐसा offense नहीं है. We have different social beliefs, but again, that is not a law. As per the law, this is not a crime. So Khalistan radicalization, this has been the major issue, or because of which we can say tensions have been flaring up between India and Canada. So Canada's soft approach, this could further embolden the Khalistani radicals, according to experts. So herein, what has been the stand of Canada is that recently there was a death of, again, a Khalistani personality. So according to Canada, it feels that there is some Indian role in that. So it is there that India differs with Canada, and instead of going into the investigation and again finding out a permanent solution to this issue, it is again in a way blaming India that there is some Indian role in that. So investigation and all of that needs to be done in an objective manner. We need to again focus upon the root cause of the problem and not blame each other.
Well, I believe in this topic that there are two variations regarding this. Number one is that today we are seeing that how the regional patriotism is dominating over the Indian nationalism and affecting the unity and sovereignty of the country. When the immigrants who go out from India and reach these countries, they try to dominate the diplomatic relations and affect the bilateral ties between India and the other countries. And number two, this event shows that how the terrorism, even though being a global cause, is not able to attract all the countries on a common platform. And that is why the Canada this time is taking a very ardent approach, which is going against the diplomatic ties, which can affect the bilateral relations between the Canada and India.
All right, and here also, as we go by this article, so it is written that Khalistan movement, when we talk specifically about this Khalistan movement, so this was marked by a turbulent phase of militancy during the mid 1980s. So it has been a long pending issue between India and Canada, but so far we are not seeing any kind of even the efforts towards taking a kind of a permanent solution for this issue. So this has lost popular support in Punjab. Security experts, they've been pointing out for some time that there was people abroad elsewhere in India also who have an interest in keeping the embers of long dead movement alive. So in a way, we are seeing even the new generation is also getting involved in this movement. So how we can avoid the youth getting involved in here is important. And when we think about what are the other issues specifically related to, or we can say more majorly they're associated with the state of Punjab. So that is the issue of drugs. And for that also, the local civil society organizations participation becomes extremely important. And in the Khalistani issue, we are also seeing active participation of the sleeper cells also. So even they are also keeping this active, this movement, the Khalistani movement active in a hidden manner. Coming to the editorial page, so let's see the important topics over here. So contest in West Asia. So regarding West Asia, the latest development that we saw the after the G20 summit, one of the key outcomes was the West Asia Economic Corridor. So India and the great powers, we are seeing they are getting more involved in Western Asian region. And going, we need to think about different domains. Kaise they are getting involved economic sphere mein, again socially, people to people ties. Trade ke baare mein we can think about. So herein we see two-part policy. So what is this two-part policy? So Mr. Biden's West Asia strategy, USA की जो West Asia strategy है उसके दो parts है. One is the continuation of the Trump era policy of bringing America's two pillars in the region. So दो pillar जो है that is Gulf Arabs and Israel. So in a way bringing both of them together, that is one of the main agendas of USA regarding West Asia. And दैट वुड यूएसए का मानना ये है कि अगर गल्फ अरब्स एंड इसराइल साथ मिलके काम करेंगे तो जो कॉमन जियोपॉलिटिकल चैलेंजेस है लाइक ईरान का राइज उसको वो टैकल करने में काफी हेल्प कर सकता है. तो बेसिकली यूएसए इज नॉट इन अ वे इट डज नॉट सपोर्ट्स ईरान. तो ईरान को काउंटर करने के लिए इसके पास जो एक ऑप्शन है जो वो चाहता है कि हो कि गल्फ अरब्स एंड इजराइल साथ मिलके काम करे. Then Abraham Accords is one thing you can find out about this. This is a factual thing. And the true potential of this policy, it would not be reached unless there's a deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. तो अभी तक ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ है. Rather इसका counter हुआ है कि Saudi Arabia और ईरान के बीच में you can say कि the diplomatic relations they have been restored that was brokered by as per a deal by China. So China का presence भी increase हो रहा है. So that is also we can say one of the emerging challenges specifically for USA in the West Asian region. Then second part of the policy, we talk about this. So Mr. Biden's approach is to reassure America's friends and the allies that the US, it is not exiting West Asia. So कहीं ना कहीं अगर हम broadly थोड़ा हट के सोचे तो it would appear कि USA is in a way exiting out of West Asia. वो अपनी influence, अपनी presence कम कर रहे हैं in Western Asia. And also we think कि it has been somewhere failure of the USA's policies, but ऐसा नहीं है. This has been made clear by USA. So in a way we can say कि things are being reorganized in Western Asia as per the newly emerging challenges. So 2012 में leaders of India, Israel, US and UAE, they held a virtual summit, which is now called as I2U2 mini-lateral. So in a way, herein we are also talking about how things have been reorganized. So idea behind I2U2 is to create a new platform that could expedite the economic integration between West Asia and South Asia, and also when we were saying ki economic sphere mein bhi we are also trying to strengthen our relations. So economic, technological solutions to the problems that are faced by global South. So Western Asia की growth से even global South को भी benefit होने वाला है. Then looking further, so India's presence in the grouping of the Abraham Accord countries, it was seen as a legitimate recognition of India's presence in the region. So यहाँ पे हम बात कर सकते हैं इंडिया का रोल इवन इन अब्राहम अकॉर्ड. सो स्पेसिफिकली वी कैन थिंक अबाउट दिस डोमेन ऑल्सो कि इंडिया की क्या प्रेजेंस है, इंडिया की क्या रोल है स्पेसिफिकली वेस्टर्न एशिया में, अभी तक क्या रोल रहा है. एंड एज आई जस्ट मेंशन कि इंडिया मिडल ईस्ट यूरोप कॉरिडोर ये अनाउंस किया गया है पोस्ट द G20 समिट. सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द मेजर न्यू डेवलपमेंट्स around this region. So it seeks to build economic corridor for India's western coast through the Gulf region, Jordan and Israel, and again Mediterranean Sea ke through will be connecting with Europe. So India-Europe relations can strengthen, even specifically trade relations. So this is another important newly emerging area. Then USA, it may not want to exit the West Asia, but it has deprioritized the region in terms of its security commitments. When we saw USA exiting Afghanistan, तो we can say कि USA exit नहीं करना चाहता है, वो उसने clear भी कर दिया, but at the same time we can say this thing, we can use this keyword कि it has deprioritized this region in terms of specifically security commitments. So उसका focus now it is shifted to back Eastern Europe and East Asia. So this is another thing, and US's deprioritization की वजह से it does not diminish the strategic value या जो potential है Western Asia की. So it was not based, or it was not we can say more influenced या ये Western Asia region इतना important. It was not because USA was present. So उसका खुद का अपना कुछ potential है जो उसको यूनिक एंड इम्पोर्टेंट रीजन बनाता है. सो यूएसए का फोकस ज्यादा शिफ्ट हो रहा है टुवर्ड्स ईस्टर्न एशिया, चाइना, इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन में, व्हिच इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन द इंपोर्ट्स फॉर ओवर 70% ऑफ द ऑयल रिक्वायरमेंट्स. एंड अगेन इट इज ऑल्सो एनहांसिंग द फोकस ऑन वेस्ट एशिया ऑल्सो. सो पहला जो मेन अगेन प्रायोरिटी की अगर हम बात करें यूएसए की, तो दैट इज ईस्टर्न एशिया, इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन. देन इट इज थिंकिंग अबाउट और फोकसिंग, ट्राइंग टू फोकस ऑन वेस्टर्न एशिया एज वेल. So USA के लिए in a way this has become a dilemma कि deprioritization of this region ये again एक strategic reality है for the Washington, as it is now facing far bigger conventional challenges. So USA again उसका जो focus है, it has now been attracted or shifted because of these bigger conventional challenges, that is Russia. Because of the Russia-Ukraine war, we are seeing कि again NATO के expansion के around this war is based. This was basically the main reason why this war was started, it began. And another challenges, the conventional challenge for USA is China, the trade war we can say, and even as a threat, growing assertiveness of China in the Indo-Pacific region as well. Now when we talk,
well, I think that the deprioritization by the United States in the Western Asia is, we are just looking in the security aspect, but if we try to look in the strategic part, in the economy part, in the cultural part, and in the soft part, most probably, so we can see that today the US prioritization is existing in the Western Asia, but yes, it is more emphasizing on the Eastern Asia and the Indo-Pacific in terms of security also, because in the Western Asia, the experimentation of the US security apparatus somehow has been failed. So this could be the reason that this deprioritization we are seeing in the Western Asia by the US.
yes, we can say this thing that what US wanted to do in Western Asia in terms of security purposes, that it feels that it has achieved, and we are thinking that USA has deprioritized this Western Asian region in terms of security purposes. So we can definitely have this viewpoint as well. Okay, when we talk about new West Asia, so herein it is to be seen ki how far the USA's plan it would help the USA retain or extend its influence in the region at the time when we are seeing कि China भी अपनी influence increase करने की कोशिश कर रहा है in the Western Asian region. So this needs to be looked into, and As we just saw कि Saudi and Israel deal, USA कोशिश कर रहा है कि we achieve this thing. And apart from this, USA is deprioritized the region. It has loosened its grip on its allies and left a security vacuum, which have collectively prompted the regional powers to autonomize their foreign policies and take steps towards a more predictable engagement with both the friends and the foes as well. So this we can say in terms of the restoration of the diplomatic relations recently that were visible in terms of Saudi Arabia and Iran. So again, Saudi Arabia ki terms mein we are seeing ki they might be feeling more autonomous, more independent when it comes to deciding their foreign policy. And on that basis, they have decided ki we'll restore relations with Iran as well. And that's there. That is again one of the new changes that we are seeing in the newer Western Asia, which creates West Asia in terms of we are using this term that new Western Asia is emerging. And second is that USA's administration, despite its limited engagement, it continues to see Iran as a hostile power in Western Asia. And also rivalry between Iran and Israel, this would also remain the central geopolitical contradiction of West Asia. So, but so far USA की जो policy है जो वो चाहता है करना अभी तक that has not been achieved. So this is there. Now, इंडिया की स्पेसिफिकली अगर हम बात करें तो इंडिया के लिए क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज है वेस्टर्न एशिया में. सो अमिड दिस यूएसए और चाइना के बीच में जो कंपटीशन चल रहा है वेस्ट एशिया में, इट ओपन्स द एवेन्यूज ऑफ एंगेजमेंट फॉर इंडिया. तो यूएसए इट सीज कि इंडिया एज पर जो साइज है, ग्रोइंग साइज है इंडिया का, साइज ऑफ द इकोनॉमी एंड द लेगेसी ऑफ इवन हिस्टोरिकल एंगेजमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इन वेस्ट एशिया एंड द कल्चरल कनेक्ट दैट वी शेयर विद दिस रीजन. That is why India becomes an important partner to continue to shape Western Asia's geopolitics. So that is why India's presence, India's role in Western Asia becomes important. And even India should welcome the moment, but we should not look at it through the prism of another Cold War. We need to look for opportunities, and it should not put all its eggs in one basket as we did in case of Afghanistan. So we need to again work towards diversifying our ties with different countries and not just extremely focus upon just one country as we did in the past in case of Afghanistan. So we are already a part of the near functional international north-south transport corridor, and it is connecting India to Russia through Iran and the Central Asia. So this is one area where India's participation is there. And when we talk about this Middle East corridor, this is going to open up another economic channel for India. So this is also going to make India's presence in a stronger manner when we say integration with the global value chains as well. So India's overall policy towards this region, we need to see that we expect that it should stay anchored in this idea of multi-engagement, or as we just said, we need to focus upon diversification of our ties with different powers. So whether it is with or without USA or irrespective of China's presence in this region, we need to strive to play a major geopolitical role in Western Asia and its extended neighborhood without upsetting the traditional balance. जो already, when we talk about our ties with Russia or our current ties with China, जो भी problems हैं, that needs to be kept aside. वो हमें उसी तरीके से बैलेंस करना है, उसी तरीके से लेके चलना है, but we need to look for newer opportunities when we're talking about Western Asia. So when we talk about clear message to the industry on dispute resolution, so I didn't see any conversation about the Indian litigation system. Eventually, it veers towards the term. मतलब when we are thinking about dispute resolution process. So सबसे पहले हमारे mind में जो term आती है, that is alternative dispute resolution. So in a way, जो alternative dispute resolution mechanism होता है, उसमें there is multiple mechanisms that exist, which enables the disputing parties to resolve their differences amicably without the intervention of the courts. So given we are seeing कि Indian courts में the delays we are seeing in proceedings and there is increasing cost of litigation also, the significance of ADR in India हम इसको underestimate नहीं कर सकते, या we can say this becomes more important with the given challenges that we are seeing in terms of Indian judiciary. So until recently, these discussions, these were largely focused on arbitration, yeah, conciliation of the disputes under this act that we have, the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996. But mediation of the disputes, that is finally getting its due as well. So mediation is also an important part of ADR. So recently, जो monsoon session of the parliament था, both the houses of the parliament, they passed this mediation bill of 2023. So firstly, we need to look into क्या key important features क्या हैं इस bill के, and again it is awaiting the president's assent for this. With that, definitely it would become a law. So India ka jo legal framework already it engages the courts to refer the disputing parties to ADR procedures, including mediation also, if there are elements of settlement which the parties they may accept. So this is followed. So kya benefits hai, kya potential benefits hai when we talk about sticking to this ADR mechanism for dispute resolution? So the requirement, it is expected to reduce the filing of the frivolous claims before the Indian courts. So again, pendency of the cases या जो burden of the rising cases है Indian judiciary पे वो कम हो सकती है. We see कि ADR mechanism में it is being carried out in a successful manner. We are reaching basically a resolution. So owing to this confidentiality of mediation, it may also mitigate the risk of deterioration of the parties' relationship due to a publicly fought dispute. So again, if you are fighting a case in court, तो वो confidential नहीं रह सकता है. But if you stick to ADR, तो you can keep things confidential, जो again आपकी relationship को in a way secure भी रखेगा, and आने वाले time में भी वो help करेगा कि आगे आने वाले time में कोई ऐसा dispute ना हो. At the same time, we are seeing कि कुछ concerns are also raised about the feasibility of the mediation which is conducted under the sword of an obligation as opposed to a sincere desire to arrive at an amicable resolution. So in a way we can say कि ये दो चीजें जो हैं dilemma है कि when we talk about sticking to a mediation process which is conducted under the sword of कि एक तरीके से obligation है, हम इसको इस तरीके से नहीं देखते कि it is in a kind of sincere desire to arrive at an amicable resolution. So this needs to, again, this view needs to be changed when you talk about sticking to mediation as a resolution process. Apart from this, subject to an extension by the parties, they must also complete the mediation within 180 days. So even time period जो है, we need to ensure कि वो minimum at least 180 days में complete हो जाना चाहिए. And on the other hand, जो act है, this will not remove the refuge of the Indian courts entirely. So party may in exceptional ऐसे जो circumstances रहेंगे, again they can seek urgent interim reliefs from even the courts also before the commencement or during the continuation of a mediation. So हम यहाँ पे ये बात नहीं कर रहे हैं कि courts का एक alternative की तरह जो ADR है वो एग्जिस्ट करता है. पहले आप ADR को स्टिक करने की कोशिश करो, उसको यूज करो, एंड इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू रीच एनी काइंड ऑफ एमिकेबल रेजोल्यूशन या कोई ऐसा अर्जेंट सर्कमस्टांस इमर्ज हो जाता है, कोई ऐसी एक्सेप्शनल चीजें होती है, तो डेफिनेटली कोर्ट्स आर देयर. So these provisions, they also prioritize the expertise and efficiency while ensuring कि जो obligation है pre-litigation mediation में, that is not weaponized. So aim यही है, we need to create a balanced framework जो encourage करे कि parties they focus more on their commercial dealings and less on the disputes, because obviously जो disputes हैं उनके business के ऊपर भी definitely negative impact करते हैं. तो again they need to focus upon their running their business in a smoother manner instead of focusing or putting in so much time on dispute resolution. So that's all, and as we just said कि जो mediation bill है उसके provisions देखना एक बार हमारे लिए important हो जाता है. So even जो act है, it aims to foster a link between mediation and the arbitration of the commercial disputes, thus reducing the burden on the Indian courts. So एक ये potential benefit है अगर we successfully stick to the ADR mechanism according to this bill. So Lok Sabha has been adjourned, signed in, and it registers 160% productivity. Overall, यहाँ पे अगर broader topic देखे, so that is again productivity of the functioning of the Indian Parliament. With time, यहाँ पे हमारे लिए ये जानना important है कि suppose we consider a time period of past 10 years, past 1 decade की अगर हम बात करें, तो what has been the trend of the when we talk about functioning of the productivity of the Indian Parliament, the sessions that we have. So right now special session हुआ था parliament का, so special session के around firstly special session explicitly Indian constitution में mention नहीं है. We have article 85 जो बात करते हैं how the it basically talks about the process of summoning of the parliament, so that's there. And recently we again saw one of the major highlights, the key outcomes of this special session was passing of the 128th amendment bill, that was the women reservation bill in the parliament. So these are some of the key outcomes or important things related to special session. What has been the outcome, and again the special session was also there to mark the 75 years journey of the Indian Parliament. So we again begin a newer journey in the new parliamentary building. So Quad ministers, they held a meeting on rules-based order and UN reform. So these were the two main areas, two main agendas that were taken up during this meeting of the Quad members. So firstly, from the perspective of map work, it becomes important. Secondly, jo keyword hai rules-based international order. Why this is important? Because again, Indo-Pacific region mein we are seeing growing assertiveness of China in terms of jo 9-dash line ke around dispute associated hai. Then construction of artificial islands by China, that is another dispute. And violation of, again, the exclusive economic zone rights of different countries, that is some issues around Indo-Pacific region. And definitely Taiwan Strait, maybe tensions are there because China does not want intervention or presence of USA in support of Taiwan. So they discuss helping countries respond to even the terror attacks as well. And joint readout reaffirms commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific, jahan pe disputes, they are settled in accordance with the international law. So that's there, and UN reforms were another agenda that was taken up. And definitely you can see ki ASEAN 5-point consensus. So ASEAN 10-member participants are there. We need to know all of them. And India may, again, India is not a member of ASEAN. This is important key fact. And there was recently again talks between North Korea and Russia also. So yahan pe bhi we need to look into ki how the challenges they are changing, how the things they are becoming so dynamic. The geopolitical challenges are again newly emerging, specifically post the Russia-Ukraine war. We are seeing Russia or China ke beech mein bhi closeness ya ties, they are strengthening, that is increasing between them. So that can be it can become another, again, great potential geopolitical issues when we think about, again, the global level. So multiple areas हैं, again रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर की अगर हम बात करें तो implications या जो impacts रहे उसकी बात करें तो ब्लैक सी ग्रेन इनिशिएटिव जो था that was उसमें से रशिया ने विड्रॉ कर लिया था. अगेन यहाँ पे हम इन्फ्लेशन की बात करेंगे, स्पेसिफिकली फूड इन्फ्लेशन या सीरियल इन्फ्लेशन की बात कर सकते हैं. सो दैट वाज बिकॉज जो सप्लाई था फूड ग्रेन्स का that got disrupted, specifically wheat की अगर हम बात करते हैं, and when we also talk about fertilizers also. So the supply disruption, it led to the rise in inflation, food inflation. So panel calls for revising the rules of construction around the protected ASI monuments. So revision of the rules around construction of the protected ASI monuments में यहाँ पे we need to think कि क्या changes होने चाहिए. So Parliamentary Standing Committee, Transport and Tourism and Culture पे उन्होंने government को बोला है कि you need to revise the rules to make them more realistic उनका रिकमेंडेशन ये रहा है कि वी नीड टू रैशनलाइज द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ सच रूल्स बेस्ड ऑन इवन द हिस्टोरिकल सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द मॉन्यूमेंट. सो दो एस्पेक्ट हैं, हिस्टोरिकल सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द मॉन्यूमेंट्स दैट नीड्स टू बी कंसिडर्ड इन. सेकेंडली जो भी रूल्स रहेंगे उनकी एप्लीकेबिलिटी पे हमें ज्यादा फोकस होना चाहिए कि क्या हम उनको एक्चुअल सेंस में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं, नहीं कर सकते. तो उनको ज्यादा रियलिस्टिक बनाने की हमें कोशिश करनी चाहिए. And the law that we have is the Ancient Monuments Archaeological Sites Remains Act of 1958. तो ये prohibit करता है, regulate करता है जितनी भी activities हैं like mining, construction around 100 meters and 300 meters around these ASI monuments. So we further expect an amendment in this act. अगेन यहाँ पे क्रिमिया कहाँ पे लोकेटेड है, व्हाट आर डिफरेंट स्टेट्स, दी बॉस्फोरस स्ट्रेट, सी ऑफ अजोव कहाँ लोकेटेड. मैप वर्क से ये रीजन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. प्रीलिम्स में भी इवन हैड अ क्वेश्चन दिस ईयर, सो दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. यू नीड टू लुक इनटू ऑल ऑफ दैट. Coming to the business page, so oil price now it becomes a concern, but no alarm yet. So inflation के regarding we talk about what the challenges of it, we are seeing कि कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा बहुत moderation देखने को मिल रहा है inflation में, but food inflation एक major concern है, and that was because of the weaker monsoon. Secondly, oil prices, crude oil prices, they are again rising up. So that is another issue because India somewhere it is dependent 87% on the crude oil imports. So imported inflation इसकी वजह से होती है. Again, rupee के ऊपर pressure increase होता है. So these are some of the concerns related to it. So tour imports again यहाँ पे अगर हम pulses की बात करें तो inflation in the pulses, food grain inflations की हम यहाँ बात करें तो tour imports to cool the pulses prices. So government क्या steps ले सकता है in order to regulate, in order to control the rising prices. So one thing is that we can import more of it so that हम domestically adequate amount of supply ensure कर सके. उसके अलावा export duty हम impose कर सकते हैं ताकि लोग export ज़्यादा ना करें and again domestic supply रहे. उसके अलावा we can completely ban the exports also. So these are some of the measures and जो government के पास again surplus है रहता है, government उसको open market में release भी करती है so that supply increase हो सके और inflation थोड़ा और cool down हो सके. So chief economic advisor says that JP Morgan's decision to lower the government's borrowing cost and free up liquidity. So JP Morgan's move to include Indian government bonds in the globally emerging market bond indices, this could potentially lower जो हमारी country की sovereign borrowing cost है. So ये हमें again fiscal prudence में काफी help कर सकता है. This will help us in reducing the fiscal deficit and इसकी वजह से we can get up some additional amount of liquidity जो again we can use it for further developmental measures. So we can say rationalizing and making the fiscal policy much more efficient. ये step हमें इस चीज में और help कर सकता है. So benefits of inclusion, everything else being equal, incremental source of demand that should see the government's borrowing cost come down, and the magnitude is difficult to determine at this stage. So abhi we can't go for that, but yes, कुछ potential benefits जो major benefits हमें मिलने वाले हैं इससे.
आई थिंक ये जो कैपिटल अकाउंट कन्वर्टिबिलिटी की तरफ हम बढ़ रहे हैं इस एग्जाम्पल के जरिए, तो ये काफ़ी अच्छा हो सकता है अगर हम फुल नहीं तो एट मोस्ट कैपिटल अकाउंट कन्वर्टिबिलिटी की तरफ बढ़े, जैसे कि जेपी मॉर्गन डिसीजन में देखा जाए.
Yes, but उसके भी कुछ negatives होते हैं. That's why we are not going in for completely 100% liberalization in that. So phased manner में we are going forward, looking into कि क्या potential challenges हो सकते हैं domestically, क्या again उसके repercussions हो सकते हैं. So we are taking that also into account. That's why moving in a phased manner forward. So data shows जो textile exports है, they are likely reviving. So again, when we overall talk about the India's export sector, because of slowdown the global economic demand, the global demand, I would say, उसकी वजह से export sector के लिए एक नया challenge emerge हुआ है. But when we talk about कि इसके potential benefits, potential solution क्या हो सकता है कि हम अपने exports को और increase कर सके, तो Southeast Asia is one of the potential markets where we can see कि एक्सपोर्ट्स हमारे इंक्रीज हो सकते हैं. इवन टेक्सटाइल सेक्टर्स की यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं तो दैट इज रिवाइविंग, डिमांड इज रिवाइविंग. सो कुछ अगेन ग्रीन शूट्स यहाँ देखने को हमें मिल रहे हैं. उसके अलावा वी आर सीइंग कि ग्लोबली एडवांस्ड वर्ल्ड में डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज में जो इकोनॉमिक स्लो डाउन देखने को मिल रहा है उसकी वजह से दी डिमांड इज ऑल्सो स्लोइंग डाउन. सो फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन की अगर हम बात करें तो दैट रिक्वायर्स मोर रूरल एटीएम्स. सो रूरल सेक्टर में या जो फारफ्लंग एरियाज है, रिमोट एरियाज हैं, अगेन मेन फोकस हमारा वही होना चाहिए जब वी टॉकिंग अबाउट फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन. सो यहाँ पे रूरल एटीएम्स का नंबर, द डेंसिटी दैट नीड्स टू इंक्रीज अप, इंक्रीजिंग द हाईलाइटिंग लोअर पेनिट्रेशन ऑफ द एटीएम्स इन इंडिया. We have the former principal chief general manager of RBI. He had highlighted कि about 2.5 to 2.6 lakh ATMs they are nationwide. This is the number and suggested कि at least one ATM per village होना चाहिए. We need to ensure this thing to synergize the digital and traditional payment transactions. And इसके अलावा we are also having banking correspondents also, so that again rural areas की जो financial needs हैं they are considered into. So he sought RBI to invite more companies to become the white label ATM operators. So white label ATM operators जो होते हैं they are non-banking ATM operators. So banking entities उनको handle नहीं करती हैं. Non-banking ATM operators they basically related to non-banking sector. So उनका participation अगर हम increase करेंगे तो in a way we'll be able to expand the network of rural ATMs as well. So that's all for the day. Thank you so much for joining us and do subscribe to the channel. Keep watching.